Hey guys, this is Blue Forest. So today we're going to talk about Energon because it is the most important currency in the game, and now that we've had the new version of the game for several months, we have a clear sense of how much Energon we're getting, and I've come to some different conclusions as to the best uses of Energon. And so I just want to give you some tips in terms of where you allocate that Energon, because as I'm sure you've noticed, in this new version, the amount of Energon that we get is pretty fixed, meaning it's a fairly set amount of Energon that you get every month. We get the large majority of our Energon from the calendar/achievements, right, from logging in every day, and from AE. That's about 1,000 a week. The good news about that is that happens, repeatedly, every day, every week. And it is about 1,000 per week. The bad news is that is over 80% of the total Energon that you're going to get. Because the other Energon that you can get from things like story, arenas, away missions, stuff like that is very minimal. And you have to grind for a lot of it. Some people don't do arenas. You might miss the away mission every now and then that gives Energon. All of that. And you're not going to get much from those things anyway. So the bottom line is you're getting between 4,000 and 5,000 Energon per month in the new game, and there's no way to get more. You can't buy it, and we don't have lots of arena crystals anymore. You can't buy it from the raid store. You can't buy it with money, nothing like that. So that means you've got to make wise decisions about the Energon that you do have, because it can go pretty quickly if you're not thinking about how you're spending it. And so there's a few primary ways that I would encourage you to spend Energon, and then a few primary ways that I would discourage you to spend Energon, right? There's a few ways that I would definitely avoid spending Energon, okay? So most importantly is rank ups, right? I have spoken about this a little bit, but now that we have 5-star bots and everyone's going to be working on their teams and ranking up bots and so forth, I would allocate a lot of your Energon towards rank ups because of the fact that you are going to have to buy sparks for those rank ups no matter what. There's no way around that. Obviously, we accrue sparks through story and AMs and all of that, but you're going to have to buy some, and sometimes you're going to have to buy more than you want to, particularly with things like T5C, because even though they did fix that T5C glitch that, we weren't accruing it, now we are, that's good. All the T5C we get is random. Those sparks we cannot control, and you are often not going to get the T5C that you want. And so that means that there are going to be times where you'd have to spend potentially thousands of Energon to rank up a single 5-star bot. So if I were you, I would absolutely save a lot of Energon for rank ups, because you don't want to be stuck having to wait weeks or even months before you can rank up a bot because you blew Energon on other things. That's really important. The second primary way that I would focus your Energon relates to the daily missions, particularly the Sunday mission, but also the daily missions that correspond to class, because the daily missions like today is the Warrior Day, you can farm for T5C. And if you're close to a T5C spark, you can run through this mission several times, finish off a T5C, and that will save you from having to buy one, for example. That can save some Energon. But particularly the Sunday mission, that's what most people are interested in because it is glitched. It has not been fixed. Who knows if they will. But for now, you can farm SIGs through the Sunday mission, and you can farm a lot of them. You can get tons and tons of 4 and 5-star SIGs. It's all dependent upon how much Energon you want to spend, okay? And the Sunday missions are really important. If you want to be able to get your 5-star bots up to SIG 100 or close to it quickly, but it's also super important for 4-star bots, particularly for forging purposes, okay? And there's two things I want to say about this. Number one, I do think it's worth it to spend some Energon on the Sunday mission every week, particularly for forging purposes, because forging up your 5-star bots is super important in this new game. We don't have rank 6 anymore, and to the serious disappointment of a lot of us, we do not have revives or kits for AMs, which really sucks. It's very limiting. But that means that forging up your top 5-star bots is going to be really important in this new version of the game. And forging is still very slow going, just like it always was. It takes a long time. And the biggest determinant of how many forge levels you're going to get is the SIG level, right? rank matters a little bit. Forge level does matter as well, but here's the thing. Forging up a rank 5, Forge 100, Sig 100 bot into a 5-star bot will give you a lot more forge levels than forging a rank 1 Sig 100 4-star bot into a 5-star bot. However, the resources needed to max out, forge up a 4-star bot are ridiculous. And the fact is, we're simply not getting many resources, particularly those 3 and 4-star resources. We just don't get a lot of those things. We don't get many 3-star bots. We don't get a lot of T3 sparks and all of that. So if you wanted to fully forge up a 4-star bot to forge into your 5-star bot, totally max it out, you'd probably have to buy lots of T3 sparks, T4 sparks. That's not worth it. You'd have to blow a ton of Energon on it. So instead of doing that, what I would recommend you do is just focus on the Sunday mission and get your 4-star bots up to high Sig, and then forge them into 5-star bots that way. Okay, it will be slow, but you'll save a lot of resources because you won't be worrying about trying to max out, forge up, rank up your 4-star bots all the time too. Now, obviously, if you have 4-star bots that you can rank up, if you have a bunch of, T4 sparks that you didn't have to buy, and you have a bunch of, 3-star SIGs lying around and you can forge them up and whatever, that's fine. But I would not blow resources to max rank and max forge your 4-star bots before you forge them into your 5-stars, because you'll have to spend too many resources. So in terms of Energon, I would definitely recommend every Sunday you go in here, you explore it once, and then you just put it on auto, right? And you go through it over and over again, and you can rack up a lot of SIGs. Now here's the thing, how much Energon should you spend? Because you do have to be careful with this, because if you just go through it over and over and over again endlessly, you could blow through a ton of Energon, right? Because you have to spend energy refills in order to keep doing it. There's no right answer to this question, but I would recommend focusing on one bot at a time, right? So get one 4-star bot up to Sig 100, then forge it away, then maybe the next week you do another one. I wouldn't blow, 1,000 Energon in a single Sunday just to max out a bunch of bots. You can do that if you want, but be careful with it. At the same time, though, it is very worth it, and I do recommend that people spend Energon to get their 4-star bots up to high Sig, because that will make the forging process of forging 4-stars into 5-stars go a little bit more quickly. It's still not going to be fast, but it will help. And of course, if you forge away Sig 100 bots into 5-stars, you're also going to get a lot of 5-star bot crystal shards, which will lead to more 5-star bots. Okay, so I would say that that's priority number 2 for Energon, would be running the daily missions, particularly the Sunday mission. Now, the third priority is something that I have changed my mind on a little bit. It used to be a higher priority for me, but now it's lower, and that actually relates to masteries, okay? I have done videos on masteries, so I'm not going to go in depth on them right now. I will just say, though, that as important as masteries are, and they are important, and you should work on them, I do believe that when it comes to the higher tier, more expensive masteries, I don't think most of them are worth ranking up in the new game. And that is because of the fact that we do not have very much difficult or long-form content in the game at all. There are not many long fights. There are not many difficult fights for experienced players. There is virtually no new content coming to us except the story missions, and those are not very difficult once you have, a few 5-star bots ranked up. You can get through those pretty easily, and if you're experienced, you can get through most of those with 4-star bots. And so the thing about masteries is that they benefit you all the time, but you really need masteries for tough fights, for long fights. We just don't have much of that. AMs are the most challenging content that most people are doing, and of course, a lot of people don't do very difficult AMs. And so when it comes to certain masteries like Starseeker, I love Starseeker. It's great. I have it at rank 1. I might take it to rank 2 or 3, but I'm not going to bother maxing it out, because with these masteries, right, the expensive ones, I'd have to spend several thousand Energon to max this out. I don't think it's worth it. Not now. I will not focus on these masteries unless and until we get some more difficult and long content. Same thing with something like Unfazed. It's a great mastery, but I only run one evade lane in AMs. I'm not going to spend 3,000 or 4,000 Energon to help me out on one lane in AMs, right? Deep Wounds is a great one too. But honestly, we don't have as many bleed bots as we used to, right? We don't have Drift. We don't have Bone Crusher. We'll get Necro later. We don't know where Windblade is. And honestly, at this point, most people, if they are using a bleed bot, they're using OGP. And he's great with Deep Wounds. But do you really need to spend thousands of Energon to give him longer bleeds? Not really. So I would only even think about ranking up Deep Wounds, again, if there was more difficult content and if I was using a lot of bleed bots. So with something like Deep Wounds, I would only bother ranking it up, and maybe not even then, but I would consider it for people who have Beast War squads, because all of them except Wasp do bleed at least sometimes, right? Cheetor benefits a lot. Rhinox benefits, Primal benefits sometimes, Scorp benefits sometimes, even Dinobot does a little bit. If you're running a Beast War squad and you use a lot of bleed bots, sure, go ahead. But most people aren't using bleed bots except OGP. Very few people use RC, Bludgeon, nobody uses him, So the point is like a lot of these expensive masteries, you're just not going to get a whole lot of benefit from. Okay. Now, with that said, if you want to go ahead and max out Starseeker, you will get some benefit from it. It's just that you're not going to get nearly as much as you could if we actually had some difficult long content to do, right? So, as I've said before, masteries are super important. So if you've neglected them, you should invest in them, right? Invest into the masteries that don't require tier 2 cores, right? Masteries like Sequencer and Courage and the crit masteries and Assassin, Glass Cannon, masteries like that require no Energon or minimal Energon, do that. But when it comes to the more expensive masteries, I would recommend you hold off and wait to see if we actually get some more challenging content in the game first, okay? And so beyond that, after those 3 primary uses for Energon, rank ups, farming for SIGs and Sparks and so forth, and then masteries, the other ways that you can spend Energon are going to be relatively minimal and, so like the occasional energy refill. XP boosts, those are fine and they're good actually. They help you level up faster. They're super cheap. You can get the 30-minute one for 6 Energon or whatever. Stuff like that is fine, okay? However, the 2 main ways that I would not spend Energon, like I said, I would avoid spending Energon on T3 and T4 Sparks to max out and forge up and rank up your 4-star bots, because you'd have to buy a lot of those sparks and it would be expensive, and I just don't think it's worth it, okay? And then the other primary way I would highly recommend you do not spend Energon is on revives in AMs, because they are stupid expensive and they are almost never worth it, okay? As I mentioned a few minutes ago, it is super disappointing that we don't have kits for AMs. It's very frustrating. Top teams can't go as high as they would like. Other teams can't progress as much as they would like. It's super annoying and it's totally nonsensical. I really hope that we get the Titan mission back, that they give us another way to get revives without having to blow Energon. But I'm telling you, spending 180 or 225 Energon just to get your bot back up to low health is dumb. And it makes no sense. And you're never going to feel good about it. Even if you revive and you win the fight, you're still going to feel like you kind of blew a bunch of Energon, because you did. And if you revive in AMs and then you lose again, which might happen because you're only reviving to low health, then you're going to be pissed, right? And if you end up reviving a few times, you could blow a week's worth of Energon in one day just from a handful of revives and repair kits. That's not worth it. I would avoid that at all costs. It can be tempting to want to revive to finish a lane or to finish a boss, but believe me, it's just not a good use of your Energon, okay? And so that's where we are, guys. Like I said, prioritize those rank ups, at least until you get your first 5-star teams ranked up, because it is going to take time, and you want to make sure you have the squads that you're happy with. Definitely invest some Energon in the daily missions, particularly Sunday. Do the masteries, but be careful about the really expensive masteries that require tier 2 cores. And like I said, I would not bother spending a lot of resources to max out and forge up 4-star bots, nor would I spend any Energon on revives pretty much ever. If you do that, your Energon will be put to good use, and you'll probably be very happy with, the results that you're getting, because as I said, Energon is fixed now. There's no way to get much more than 4,000 to 5,000 a month. 5,000 would be the absolute most you could get in a given month now. It would be impossible to get more than that, so you have to be very, very careful about how you spend it, Okay, so I will leave it there for now, guys. I hope this has been helpful, and we will be in touch again soon. Take care.